Welcome to one of two different videos dropping today about the new Asgardians joining the battle of Marvel Crisis Protocol. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Jane Foster, aka Mighty Thor. And yes, she is also one of Asgard's new leaders, and one they are going to be very happy to see. My name is Nate, and welcome to the Gamers Guild. Jane Foster's run as Thor in the comics was actually a really nice comic run, even if the reasoning behind Thor becoming unworthy, to me at least, was a little bit shaky. Even still better than Thor Ragnarok, though, which isn't saying much, I guess. So let's talk about Mighty Thor. She has a whopping 8-6 split on stamina, giving her a nice chunk of health, as well as 4s across the board on defense to help round that out. She has two very nice attacks, like really, really nice. Hammer Strike comes in as a builder with a range of 3 and 6 dice that also has a wild throw trigger on target size 4 and under, similar to Prince Thor, except, with double the range. I will say there is also one significant difference, though, in that Jane's throw is after the attack is resolved, which means if she does enough damage up front to daze or KO the target, she won't be tossing them as well, whereas the Prince gets his throw before damage. Anyways, it's a really nice builder, and it's followed up with a really nice spender. Range 4, 8 dice for 4 power. It auto shocks, which makes sense for the energy lightning blast, but also if you land a wild, you get to deal 2 damage to all other characters within range 2. So the electric shock is quite good. But before you go crazy, do a double take of the board because Jane can deal that 2 damage to herself and her allies. As for her superpowers, well, she has plenty, and you'll want to do them all probably every single turn. For Midgard is her own version of a charge for 3 power, with the added bonus that you get to reroll up to 2 dice. So movement economy and dice consistency all wrapped up into one feels pretty good. Then also for 3 power, Jane has access to a size 4 throw that works on terrain, and superpower throws are great, guaranteed damage, and having it in the size 4 category is just spectacular. Then finally, for 2 power, she can reroll any number of her defense dice against physical and energy attacks. She may not be an Asgardian, but she is blessed by Freya, so she still gets an extra power during the power phase. And as any Thor should, she has the innate powers of flight and immunity to shock. So, Jane is making quite the entrance here, and she has a lot of similarities to Prince Thor, so it's hard not to draw some lines between the two of them, and that's even before getting into leadership stuff. All in all, Jane has a little bit of everything you could want: control, damage output, and to multiple characters, dice consistency on both offense and defense. The only downside for Jane really is that she might end up being hungry for power because, again, you're going to want to use all of her kit all of the time. And while I hate to be boring like that, that kind of just very neatly sums up her pros and cons. She's going to be able to do well just about wherever she wants or needs to. If enemies are piling up on each other, she can just go on a throwing spree, but she can also hold her own on a flank really well. And to top it all off, she has a charge that can give rerolls to her range 3 builder or her range 4 spender, giving her an extremely nice threat range. Jane is here to slap some people around, and what makes her even more scary is the potential of her Team Tactic card. Heart of the Worthy will cost Jane 2 power and her life, but in exchange, at the end of the activation phase, Jane gets to remove her activation token and immediately activate. However, during the next cleanup phase, which is like immediately after that activation, Mighty Thor is KO'd. So, important clarification up front: Jane will get to score any victory points before she is KO'd. So, if she is the last character standing on a secure or she managed to pick up an extract, she can lead your team across the finish line. This card is maybe one of the more interesting puzzle cards we've had since Spider-Woman's Double Agent last year. At face value, you have Jane on her injured side, and maybe she has taken a bit of damage, so you can guarantee one last activation out of her, and potentially bring the end of the game. A character who has the potential to displace 3 size 4 characters in an activation is certainly capable of leading you across the finish line with one last activation. So, in all of those respects, yes, this is a really good card. However, this card is also a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If your opponent flips Mighty Thor onto her injured side and you have this card in hand, their hand is kind of forced to make sure you don't even get the chance to play this. Similar situation to, oh, Valkyrie is waking up with 9 power, I need to kill her before she kills all of my stuff kind of energy. But your opponent has all round to get the kill instead of just one activation. The other really gross thing to consider here is this card teamed up with Doom Prophecy. Like, hey, Jane is going to get one heck of an activation, and if you don't deal with her, she's coming back for seconds. All of this to say, I don't think this card is going to be stable to Jane because it is Asgard affiliated, so you can't just play her in Avengers and use her as a Tomahawk missile. If you're playing her in Asgard, the odds are pretty good that she's going to be your leader, and sacrificing your leader is a pretty tough play. So let's dig into the leadership. Renegade Thor of Asgardia has two parts to it. The first is once per turn, if an allied character makes an attack against an enemy that's within range 2 of itself, you get to reroll one of your attack dice. The second part is very similar, but on defense. If one of your characters is getting attacked by an attack from outside of range 2, you get to reroll one of your defense dice. So basically, it's a leadership that rewards you for getting into the fray and gives your opponent a reason to not just take pot shots from afar. This is a really nice leadership in general, but even more so for Asgard, a team that traditionally lives or dies by the dice. And since it's all free, your power-hungry characters who live in Asgard, which are several of them, are here for the ride. I'm going to recommend taking the characters who want to get in close for a brawl anyways, like Prince Thor, Mischief Loki, rerolls on I Am a God, yes please. Valkyrie, rerolls on Warrior of Legend attacks, again, yes please. And even Heimdall, yes, Heimdall, as he will be able to use the rerolls on his Forfend attack, which is a nice little synergy, as well as characters like Scourge and Angela, who have nice range 2 attacks with a nice weight behind them. All of that to say, there are plenty of affiliated characters who would be interested in jumping aboard this new leadership, and at several threat levels, which is nice. As far as her being splashed or really just her other affiliations she could do well, there are several front-running candidates. I could see her being affiliated both with A-Force and the Avengers, both of which open up a lot of great play for her. With the Avengers, either Steve works really well opening up the round 1 charge, or getting more reliable success for her wild triggers if you go with Mighty Steve instead of Discount. If she manages to land in A-Force, then they will finally have the ability for a possibility of the special delivery charge. A very potent combo back when drop-off was around that basically results in a lot of destructive dice pulls. But these are just some of my first impressions with the Mighty Thor. If you want to know what the other new leader for Asgard is up, check out the other video that dropped today talking about Loki. That said, with all of these releases earlier in the week, I won't have anything extra releasing over the weekend of the 4th of July. And I will be doing the giveaway drawing instead of today so that people have the usual amount of time to get entries in on July 12th. If you want to enter into July's giveaway, all you need to do is be subscribed to the channel and leave a comment on a video the same month that it is released, like any of the videos dropping today, for example. And if your name is pulled from the proverbial hat, Tritex will supply you with one standard MCP expansion of your choice. And speaking of Tritex, I want to go ahead and give a shout to the guild sponsors who help make this content possible. If you are in the UK, you can shop at Tritex Games using the code TritexGGCP5 at checkout for an extra 5% off. And if you use this code on a pre-order item like the new Defenders coming out later this month, it will net you a grand total of 25% off. If you are in the US, you can shop at gamechefs.org, or you can use the code GamersGuild for 15% off of your order. As always, if you have an LGS you are playing at, we encourage you to support where you play. I also want to take a moment and say if you're enjoying the content here on YouTube or one of the different podcasts and you want to support our efforts directly, you can support us on Patreon. As well, if you want to join us in silly discussions or ask questions to be answered from rules to general advice, you can join the Guildhall Discord page down in the link below. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep on gaming.